Manga-Waido.
My name is Sayori Hiragi. Today, I'm at the cafe with Yuko, my best friend since high school. Yuko got married a year ago, but she still frequently meets up with me at my invitation. I believed at the time that Yuko and I would remain friends for the rest of our lives. However, thanks for today. Let's hang out again. Yeah. What? Is something wrong? From next time, can you stop wearing such shabby clothes from nameless brands? Yuko seems to have changed since she got married. Sorry. People are gonna assume I'm not worth anything if I'm with you, I want you to wear something better than that. For the first time, my best friend made fun of me for what I was wearing. Yuko began to look down on me ever since. Yuko married a man who works for a prestigious company, and she certainly started wearing more luxurious things than before. Perhaps that's why she brags about brands I've never heard of and makes fun of what I'm wearing. I was bewildered by Yuko, who seemed to have suddenly completely changed personalities. I've always wondered, but those are the clothes you bought at the usual place, right? Yeah? How are you still wearing those? I threw them all away since it's embarrassing. Our favorite clothing store in the department store in front of the station. These were clothes we bought together to match. But I guess these are embarrassing to wear now for Yuko. Leaving me feeling down, she told me what brand her bag was from today, how much her husband spent on her wedding anniversary, and so on. Flaunting her expensive things and how much love she gets from her husband. Here she goes again. Yuko is like this every time I see her these days. She wears name brand items that I can't afford and shows them off. I nod my head in agreement as she goes on and on. And then, one day, when I was being told Yuko's boastful story as usual, Koki-san is a terrific salesman for a prestigious company, and he's really great. He's even been on many overseas business trips. I see. Sayori, you're not very good at listening. Huh? You keep brushing me off. That's why you're about to turn 30 with no boyfriend. That's what Yuko told me. Yuko seems to think I can't get married and makes fun of me like that, but I was actually dating someone, which I kept a secret from her. His name is Yoji Shikakura. We've been dating for a year now. The reason why I haven't told Yuko is because she would definitely make fun of me if I told her. Yoji graduated from high school and went straight to work at a factory. He also grew up with a single mother. Yoji lived in China because of his father's work, but his father was a womanizer and his parents divorced when he was in high school. He returned to Japan with his mother and started working immediately after graduating from high school so that his younger brother could go to college. But Yuko would probably make fun of him despite such circumstances. Normally, when someone teases me about being single, I would just let it slide. But this was an exception. I was recently proposed by him, and we were going to get married. If we are to have a wedding ceremony, I felt obliged to invite Yuko. So I decided to tell her. I'm sorry for not telling you before, but I actually have a boyfriend. What? You do? And we're getting married. I thought she might accuse me of keeping quiet, but fortunately she didn't and replied with, good for you. So, where did your husband go to college and what kind of job does he do? I knew it would come to that, but there's no point in lying now. I told her that the man I was marrying worked at a factory and finished his education with high school. Somewhere in my heart, I had hoped that she would congratulate me on my marriage. But engaged to a factory worker? What kind of punishment is that? I had expected it to some extent, but what Yuko spewed hurt me more than I had imagined. Are the qualifications of the person you're going to marry that important to you? I just about managed to say that as I ran home that day. After that, Yuko must have been convinced that she had the right to look down on me even more, and things got worse. You'll probably live in poverty for the rest of your life, so you should enjoy it while you still can. Since I feel sorry for you, do you want me to give you my used bag? Although it's probably a brand you don't know. Where did the Yuko that used to be my best friend go? I was getting tired of her actions and words and wanted some peace of mind, so I decided to talk to my fiancé about it. And then...
She'll probably come to our wedding. Is it okay if I introduce myself?
Huh? You shouldn't do that. It's only going to make you uncomfortable.
It's fine. I'll take care of it.
He sounded confident, so I reluctantly agreed. When I informed Yuko that he wanted to meet her, she immediately gave me the okay. The place was a high-end restaurant in the city. Supposedly, Yuko would pay for the meal. But when I arrived at the restaurant, I was surprised.
Hello. Ever since the wedding, huh?
To my surprise, her husband was also there. Yuko brought him without telling me.
Anyways, shall we order? You've never had something like this, have you?
Yuko's husband, Koki Miyashige. I talked to him at the wedding before. And sorry to Yuko, but he had an air of condescension about him, which I didn't like. This is my fiancé, Yoji Shikakura.
Pleased to meet you.
And so our dinner began. Where are you planning to go for your honeymoon? We actually went to France. To be honest, I was in the mood to leave right away, but I couldn't since the meal had been ordered as a course. I decided to eat the food in silence while listening to Yuko and Yuko's husband brag stories.
It sounds like you have a tough job, Shikakura-san. Working in a factory seems like a lot of hard work. Not really. I don't do that much heavy labor. Oh, light work then? I've never done it, so I don't know. Physical labor must be good for you. I move around a lot, but I'm always in cars and airplanes, sitting around.
That's right. Koki has a lot of client meetings and business trips, so he's very busy. They only talk about how proud they are of themselves, no matter the topic. Just as I was dreading about how I was going to have to endure this for the next few hours.
That sounds like a lot of work. Do you go abroad pretty often? Several times a year. I always have to leave my wife behind, so it's hard for me. I see. That's tough.
That's right. He's going on an overseas business trip next month as well. Shikakura-san, you don't seem to have any sudden overseas business trips, so it must be easy.
If you go abroad so often, you must be fluent in English, right? Well, to the extent it doesn't interfere with business negotiations. That's good to know. Then let's talk English. I spend a lot of time over there, so I actually prefer English. Huh?
As Yoji said that, he suddenly began to speak fluently in English. The three of us, including myself, froze in confusion.
Were you unable to hear me? I spoke clearly so that you could easily understand. You speak very fluent English. Where did you learn it? I didn't learn it. I lived in England and China until high school, so English is more my native tongue. What? Also, I think you seem to have some kind of misunderstanding. I am actually a factory manager and we have factories overseas, so business trips abroad are pretty common. And which company do you work for? Manga Industries. What?
I didn't know either, but it turns out that Yoji works for a leading company that everyone knows of, and Koki-san had to ask the name of the company over and over again. On top of that, he rose through the ranks at an exceptionally fast pace despite joining the company right out of high school. He told us that his fluency in English, Mandarin, and Cantonese were valued, leading him to take charge of the management of factories overseas. And I was just as surprised as they were. I knew you could speak Chinese, but you also lived in England?
Yeah, all throughout elementary school.
You told me you were just a factory worker.
Well, it's still a factory job, so...
Now I was the one questioning him. As we were talking, Yuko and her husband suddenly got up from their seats. We should probably...
Yeah, we've been taking too long. Please excuse us.
After saying this, they left the payment on the table and quite literally ran off. We laughed together as we watched their pathetic backs. Afterwards, we had the ceremony and got married. We sent invitations to Yuko and her husband, but they didn't come. Because I heard that after the dinner, Koki-san was laid off. Despite all his big talk, he was actually a dropout within the company and ended up settling for a job at a smaller company. However, Koki-san's wild financial habits from working for a larger company stayed with him, and he was fired there as well for embezzlement. At the same time, Yuko found out that he was having an affair, and after a big fight, they ended up getting a divorce. Rumor has it that Koki-san is now working part-time to make ends meet, while Yuko worked part-time to pay her alimony. They went downhill on their own, and it made me realize that karma was real after all. It also made me realize that I need to keep working on myself so that I don't become too dependent on my husband.